It is the start of a new chapter.
The 3 Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck.
So we're about to head to Chris's to go do some play testing of the brand new Blue Eyes Primite deck. We went 3-0.
We finished our first big OTS championship tournament.
We bought this bad boy off him.
So there are 3 main parts to this deck.
So here we go. It is the start of a new chapter. We have pretty much all the new Blue Eyes deck here, outside of the actual structure decks themselves, which I'm going to be opening up later on this week when they get delivered. But this is the main bulk of the deck that isn't there. So this is your Primite stuff, your extra Blue Eyes stuff that I've already got. We've already got some of the extra decks sorted, so here's like the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, etc. We ended up shelling out on the Cypher Divine Dragon. Here is the sleeves that I've decided to go with. So we've gone for a white and blue theme, obviously Blue Eyes. And I am very, very excited. I cannot wait for these structure decks to arrive, just to sleeve up all the new cards. I've been doing so much play testing. I know a lot of the lines now, interactions, the way cards work. I'm pretty comfortable. I think it's probably where I was by like the 3rd or 4th week of the Fire King deck that I was using before. So I'm confident enough. I'm probably still going to slip up, but fingers crossed on Saturday night we should be going to go and do some play testing just ahead of locals, just to make sure that this deck is working how I want it to.
Here we have the unboxing of the 3 Blue Eyes White Destiny structure decks. Shout out to Josh for making it happen. He also happened to have 2 barrels lying around, so we got those off him as well. So the Blue Eyes deck is complete. We didn't get anything, unfortunately, from our structure deck promo picks, but we move.
So we're about to head to Chris's to go do some play testing of the brand new Blue Eyes Primite deck. And as well as that, I'm also finally organised enough to have a trade binder. So it's not the best, but I'm finally going to have something to take to locals that I can do some trades, maybe upgrade some cards, maybe even just some rarities if I don't need any cards in particular. But that is something that I honestly never thought I'd say, because the amount of time it took me to build up that binder, honestly, I think of so many ways I could have better spent my time, but it's done now. All I need to do is just keep putting stuff into it as and when I pull it, rather than letting all my stocks of cards stack up and then finally have to spend 12 hours sorting through miscellaneous cards and putting them in sleeves. And I don't even want to relive it, guys, so don't worry. So I am just making a little cup of tea after that session with Chris and co. It was very gracious of Chris to host, and deck build seems to have worked. So we went with our new Blue Eyes deck. Sorry, I'm gonna let the dog in. Went with our new Blue Eyes deck, and I mean, we weren't playing like seriously, but we were playing best ofs and doing side decking. We went 3-0, so that bodes well for at least the fact that I know how to win with this deck. One of them, especially at the end, with a crazy grind game against Chris, where he's playing Fiendsmith Chimera, and honestly, it went on for, I would say, probably like 15 turns, 20 turns. So it just shows that the Blue Eyes deck has got that grind game, as well as the potential to just flood a board an OTK. So I'm really looking forward to the first OTS event with this deck.
So guys, huge day. It is the first locals where we are taking the Blue Eyes deck with us. Now, interestingly enough, it isn't just a normal locals. This is an OTS championship. Now, I've never been to one of these before. I don't entirely know how it works. All I know is there's a bigger entry fee, but you get some like packs on entry, and the pricing is slightly different. So it's going to be really interesting to see first time out in a much more competitive environment how this Blue Eyes deck is going to do. But first, let's get in that old cupboard, get some bread, because we're having some toast before we leave, because it's going to be a long day.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, we've got this little lad coming with us to locals today, because I didn't have a dog sitter, so he's going to come and hopefully help me distract my opponents to win some games.
We have arrived, and we might have to put our serious face on today, so let's get in
and see if we can't somehow finish top 4.
So guys, this event was a lot more serious than the ones that I've been to for locals so far. And now that we're changing to this road to YCS mentality, that is a good thing. But at the same time, there was a lot of moving around between tables. And as you saw earlier, we brought Jeff with us. So unfortunately, I didn't get to set up the tripod and film every game. So all I'm going to do is talk through some of how the games went, what went well, what went badly, any takeaways from the day. And that's going to substitute out any of the filming content that I would usually do of the games. But in future episodes, I want to go back to filming some of the games, just so you can see how we're doing with Blue Eyes Deck. We finished our first big OTS Championship tournament. And look, we came 10th, which sounds worse than it is, but actually 10th is okay. But more so than that, we came 10th with 2 draws that realistically I know for a fact that we could have won. Now I know that when you go into the future and you look at, oh yeah, but if you'd won that first game that you drew, your opponent would have been better, like because of the seeding, and then this game, if you won that, your opponent would, yes, you're right, it could have been. But 2 games, we got timed out, both on 8k life points, and it was my turn, I was in the main phase, and I was just doing Blue Eyes things, when actually all I should have done is go to battle phase and just sweep over them. So for next time, number one thing I need to remember is time. 45 minutes for 3 games should be doable, but each of those games ran out of time and ended up getting draws.
Courtesy of Matt from last week, because we missed the event, we bought this bad boy off him. So we now have the Blue Eyes structure deck map to go with the Blue Eyes deck, because it just didn't feel whole without it, you know? And worth every penny, because as soon as we entered locals today, you'll see in the clip coming up, we packed a quarter century, the new 10-year effects monster, and we got another Prime Dragon Eat Barrel. So we made probably about best part of £60 out of just the packs we got for entering the tournament. And Geek Retreat were nice enough to give out a pack of Dragon Shield sleeves as well. So from our entry packs, we get about £60 of value. We get some Dragon Shield sleeves to use in the future for different decks. And we then went ahead and bought this, which now basically just means I got it for free because of the packs we managed to pull. So I'm very happy with this. It adds into the Blue Eyes aesthetic. And I was having this conversation earlier saying, is it a bad thing that I'm turning up to these locals days quite literally with white and blue sleeves, a Blue Eyes playmat, a Blue Eyes field center? But then I think, who cares? Like, Blue Eyes is the deck that I enjoy. It's my favorite card, so I want to show it off, even if it means that going into turn 1, my opponent knows exactly what I'm playing. So, who cares?
So there are 3 main parts to this deck. Number 1, Blue Eyes. Number 2, Prime Eye. And then number 3 is hand traps. So starting us off with our Blue Eyes engine, we are running 3 Blue Eyes. Now, most of our builds for Blue Eyes have been running 2. But I'm sorry, you're not playing Blue Eyes properly if you're not playing 3. Now, it's up to you. I've been enjoying 3, but also it's been my biggest question mark, to the point where I was even at locals thinking, do I want to take one out just before the tournament starts? But we stuck with 3, and I don't think that it was too bad. We're then playing 1 jet just to back that up, and that's the reason we could potentially get rid of the 3rd, would be to play 2 and then a jet, so we could still get out some of the rank 9s. So 2 or 3, your choice. I'm playing 3 and the jet just because I like Blue Eyes, so that's my reasoning, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best by any means. Next up, we are playing 3 maidens. Obvious choice. 3 sage. 3 wishes. And then the little one-offs that we're playing. Mausoleum, Raw, Ultimate Fusion, True Light, and Majesty. Much like playing the 3rd Blue Eyes,
Not a lot of people are necessarily playing Ultimate Fusion, but I just think it's really good, and it's just a different card that someone's not going to expect. So next up is the Primite part of the build. Now this is the smallest part, but the most expensive. These cards are crazy, and I expect to see them not soon, because Blue Eyes has just come out, but within the next 6 to 9 months, they're going to get hit hard. So we have 3 Beryl, and we actually pulled another one today in our locals pack, so that's great. 3 Lordly Loads, and 1 Drill Beam. That's all you need. You can run Raw. I actually did run it for a while, but I just found that it wasn't as impactful as some of the other cards in the deck, so I dropped it. And I also did side an extra Drill Beam before, but I actually, again, stopped that because I think that you're just using up valuable space in your side deck when realistically, if this gets banished, it's not the end of the world. It just makes your life harder. And lastly, the hand traps. We are running 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, 3 Droll, and 2 Nib just to start. So both Effect Veiler and Droll can summon Spirit, so I don't know why you wouldn't run them. I think they're both incredible hand traps, especially Droll. It's going under the radar and it's a bit underrated. Yes, most people who don't play it, it's because they're playing Foolos, but I just cannot justify the cost of that, so I use this. And I think that it is just good, because even if you draw it and it's the only thing you draw to start your turn, you know you can at least go into a Spirit, so it's definitely still helpful. Outside of that, we are running 3 Imperm, 1 Call by the Grave, and then just the little extra ones we are running is Druid Swarm, Magnuma, and my favourite little tech choice, Honest. Now, this card again, it's very much a me choice, but I think that if you have it in your hand to surprise your opponent, it can genuinely win you games. Are you going to see it very often? No. Is it going to make an impact most of the time? No. But that one time that it does is the reason that it's in the deck. So this card, I don't think I'd actually get rid of it, even though not many or any other builds that I've seen are playing it. Okay, next up we have got the extra deck. Now, just before I show you the extra deck, we have got these lovely field centers. One is courtesy of Chris, which is this OCG one. And then we are also running a couple of Kyber tokens. Now this one I bought off eBay, and this one I have from like an old set that I had, but I just think they're really cool and just play into that whole Kyber aesthetic. Heading into our extra deck, 3 Spirit Dragon. Most people are playing this at 2. I'm playing it at 3 because I just think that, especially in the grind game, you do run through all of these, and I think that if you run out, what else can you do? As soon as you run out of these, all you have the option of doing is going into some less than ideal level 9 synchros, and I don't know, I just think that 3 is just the safe way to play. We're then playing 1 Ultimate, and then 1 Blazer, 1 Cypher, and 1 Crimson. So this little package here, obviously the Ultimate's good, but this little package here didn't go into it much. So I'm actually going to take a closer look at it to see if I'm going to keep playing it. But I do understand that it's very good. There's a reason people are playing it, but generally, if I'm at the point where I know that I can go into these, there's probably a good chance that I'm already ahead in the game, and risking losing these is kind of not worth having them in the deck in the first place. So it's a bit of a conundrum that I'm in, but they're in for now. Next up, we have Black Rose Moonlight and Lightstorm. These are just a couple of tech cards that you can switch out Spirit for, or summon Lightstorm it like normally, but usually tag Spirit Dragon out for, depending on what they've got on the field. Very good for popping back row, very good for getting rid of an annoying Spect monster. I'm then playing Indigo Eyes, and I don't care what people think. I think it's a great card, and it can OTK. The amount of times where I've had one turn past my opponent, managed to negate 3 or 4 things from my opponent, and then it's my turn, and I can go into one of these, spec a Blue Eyes, and that's 8k worth of damage straight away. Like, it has happened, and I have won games with it. So I'm keeping it in for now, even though it is definitely not a popular choice. Neo, mostly for the graveyard effect. Tyrant Dragon, again, this is probably the card you go into one of the most, especially when your opponent's built a board of like 5 units.
they're very surprised when you just build this and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and kill them all and then give yourself a trap. It's a very good card. And then last up, 2 Spirit. Wish this could be 3, but 2 is okay. And 1 Seal. Again, I do wish this could be 2, but 1 is just what you got to deal with when you've got such a small extra deck. The only different choice that I was thinking this morning, and again, I had these cards with me as I was like, do I put SP in the extra deck? Or the other one that I was thinking, do I put Relinquish Anima in the extra deck? Because there are so many level 1s, it makes sense, right? You can nib your opponent on their turn and then potentially get to the point where you've put it into a good position to use your Relinquished. Normal summon a level 1, get Relinquish Anima, equip it, you've got rid of the nib on their side, and then you have a body that realistically is going to have ridiculous attack. So the more I think about this side deck, especially when it comes to the ultimates and the Blazars and things like that, if I do end up starting to drop them, the kinds of things that will be replacing it are stuff like Relinquish Anima, SP, and to be honest, just maybe some generic rank 8 Xyz monsters. Finally, it's time for the side deck. Now, this is probably the most comprehensive my side deck's ever been, and I'm actually quite happy with the way that it looks. It's so rare up until now with this deck that I've been siding out like 7 cards in a game, or maybe even 9 cards in the game if I have to. So I'm really happy where this is, which is 3 Chaos Hunters and 3 Lancia, purely just for Malice. That is my Malice stop. I then have 2 Lightning Storms and 1 Skill Drain. They are just tech cards that I can put in as and when I need. If I know I'm going second in game 2, Lightning Storm can be good just for some disruption, and Skill Drain, if they've got an effect heavy comp, well fine, Blue Eyes doesn't care, so Skill Drain. And then last up is Xyz Encore ×3 and D-Barrier ×3, and that is my Rizal counter, or D-Barrier is quite hybrid, but that's what I'm using it for. So the way I see it is I've got 6 side deck for Malice, 6 for Rizal, and then 3 just to bring in just for random cards if I feel like they're necessary. I feel like it's pretty standard, but it's working well for me. Are there other cards that I'd love to see in there? Yes, but there are also cards that I just can't see not having, so these just have to sit here for now. And if in the future I swap those out for Triple Tactics, Talent and Thrust and Searches and Ultimate Slayers, fine. But right now, that's what the side deck looks like, and I'm happy with it. There you have my Blue Eyes deck in all its glory. It's actually a 43 card deck, which was the thing I was having a bit of a panic about before OTS day. As I was filling in my sheet to say how many cards there was, I was just thinking to myself, what 3 cards could I drop to just make this a slightly more consistent 40 card deck? But I actually just ended up keeping it because it's what I've been practicing. And you know what? It's not that bricky. There's been a couple of times where, yeah, I've not been able to do as much, but you only really need 1 or 2 cards to make this deck work. So I'm keeping it at 43 for now. Check in next week because it might be completely different. But right now, we're sticking with 43 and I'm loving the deck.